Hey, welcome back to the most innovative shipping container channel on YouTube. And this is the second project I've got to shoot for you. And so we'll shoot this one a little bit and then we will run outside and look at a garage that we are in the process of building. So this is a double 20-foot high cube office. And so when I flip around, I'm going to show you a lot of cool little details about this build. And we're actually going to use this office ourselves for a while. I could have sold it 4 or 5 times already, but I got to quit doing that because we keep moving the office and it's a huge pain in the butt. So let's flip around and take a look at what makes this so cool and so unique. And thanks for watching. Okay, it doesn't look like it yet, but we are almost done with this. Yes, the doors have another coat of paint coming, but this two 20-foot high cubes, 20-foot high cubes are kind of oddball. They're 9 foot 6 inches tall. Yes, you can get them. Yeah, they're not a lot more money. There's just not a lot of them out there. So these are going to bolt together. So we got them all cribbed up, so everything's level and perfect, so we can do all the fab work we need to do. I decided we're doing shiplap with the conduit. That's my favorite way to do it, as I said in the previous video. So first thing, because I know this mini split is going to cool and heat this entire container, and because from one 20 foot to another 20 foot, you're only adding 2 more LED lights and maybe 1 or 2 more computers, I know we're still going to be able to run this entire thing off an extension cord, which is getting kind of crazy. But worst case scenario, if a 15 amp breaker pops on the extension cord, we're going to run a 20 amp, but I think we're good to go. I put a watt meter on everything running in our office previously off the extension cord, and we still had a couple of amps left over, and one of my employees even turns a 1,000 or 1,500 watt space heater on, and we still didn't flip the breaker. And that's with a fridge, GPU gaming computer, another computer, multiple monitors, lights, mini split, all that. So what's really labor intensive about this container is I like the way the brush marks look for paint. So instead of rolling this, I brushed the entire container by hand. So we've got these really cool old farmhouse looking, brush texture on here, and it looks really, really good in my opinion. We're gonna do white trim for accents. So we got a paint, second coat of paint on the ceiling over there and the doors, and we are done with paint. So this has got an exterior, regular home exterior door with a window. I didn't want to do a steel walk door on this for a few reasons, because I wanted to showcase just a regular interior door install. So this is pretty much the same process as a steel door. You build the frame, but when you get the frame done, you just put the exterior door into the frame and then shim it and screw it into the frame that we typically use. The only difference is you got this brick molding and all that. So we've got that all sealed up and primed. Over here, we did a 6 foot by 5 foot window. If you go to sales and stuff, you can pick up just random returned items and whatever. And this was just a window I picked up for quite a bit off retail. So we put that 6 foot window in there, which is a big window. And then we did this shutter, and the shutter is going to have shocks on it. So as soon as you unlatch it, the shutter will come up, and we've got the back shutter done, so I'll show that one to you. I guess one of the more interesting things about how do you join 2 containers up and have it finished inside, we drill holes like that in our corner posts. So when we cut the walls, we leave these corner posts because that's a lot of your strength of your container, and we bolt these together, and then we put a gasket in between here. This is not the gap you're left with right now. This is probably a 1/2 inch. This gets down to about a 1/4 inch or 5/16 right in there. You can run a trim strip in here, or just leave it open. So on this one, we're going to paint this black and then put a trim strip, or we're going to weld a piece of like 14 gauge sheet metal underneath and then just seal the crack here. So you can break these containers apart and they're still portable. And so joining containers together is one of my favorite things to do. On the top here, you can see same thing. We're going to bolt these together from the outside with tabs because these are finished out. If they don't have interior finish, we typically drill holes in the posts up there. Those posts are about 2.5 inches thick, and then put a 6-inch bolt through the whole deal, and we have that same gasket running up top. But since this one has interior finish, I don't want bolts on the inside. So we're going to have the deck and then another shipping container stacked on top of this one, and we're going to use those items to support the ceiling and bolt these together. So all the bolts, when you're finished out, are going to be exterior. So as far as the finish for here, we're just going to run like a 7-inch trim strip across this that screws up. So all you'll see is a piece of gray or white trim here. And then we're going to trim all the corners and everything like the container I just showed you. Trim the windows out. And we're going with like a 4-inch white trim. So that white trim is going to pop off the gray and look really good. So this is going to kind of have an old school look to it with all the brush and the shiplap and all of that. The shiplap is my favorite interior finish because number one, it's not that bad to install, and number two, it looks the best for the money in my opinion. I don't like to sheetrock these because sheetrock is more labor. Yes, it's a lot cheaper than shiplap, but it's a lot more labor. It's multiple days and processes and sanding, and sheetrock will crack if finished out in shipping containers, no matter if you have walls or windows cut out or not. Your other option is plywood or OSB or some, interior panel walls. I don't like the way any of those look. We do OSB for just commercial industrial builds, but if it's like an office or whatever, in my opinion, shiplap is the only way to go. So I've kind of went through how we're going to join these up. So when these come out of the shop, they'll just get placed and we'll bolt them up and we'll have that gasket in between. Everything will be sealed up. So you get a really nice 320 square foot office, and these high cubes feel just really tall. So if these were standard height containers, take out 2 pieces of shiplap there and that'd be your ceiling height. As far as the electrical, I know this mini split is going to cool and heat this entire office, and I know what this mini split draws amperage wise, so I know we're going to be able to run off the extension cord. But this is still a 12,000 BTU mini split, heat pump and air conditioner. 12,000 BTU, they recommend 20 BTU per square foot. So this mini split would cool up to 600 square feet if insulated properly. And we do insulate underneath the floor. We spray it under there, and we spray about 1.5 inches, 2 inches throughout the entire container. So insulation factor is probably an R10 to R15 right in there. So we do have good insulation. Yes, we are lacking a little bit over in these areas, but this mini split should have no problem cooling and heating this entire container. So we're good to go on that. Over here, we are just going to, where these bolt together, we'll paint all this, but we're just going to trim out to here. So this is going to stay exposed here. You could finish all this out, but we're probably going to end up moving this around and selling it or shipping it. So we're not going to mess with finishing those out there. Here's your steps. You can build your own steps. We got these steps from local steel supplier. They're a standard pitch and everything. So we wanted to stay on one container with putting them on, so we had to hang them off. And so when we ship this down the road, this is going to be a wide load. Your other option is doing ship steps, which are much steeper and making this angle. We don't have a landing right now when you get to the top of the deck, but we're going to have another container stacked up here, and then we'll have a landing. But for now, we're just going to finish this deck out and have the steps going up there. So it'll be a little bit funky, small landing, but it'll work for now, and then we'll resolve that later. There's your mini split. We like to hang those up high, about flush with the roof. That way when you walk around the corner, you don't bump your head into it. And here's the other thing I wanted to show you on the outside is the shutter. So we just use the corrugated metal that we cut out for the window. For the shutter, we box that in, and then we put shocks on it. And that's what you got there. So you got really good security with closing that up. The other thing I was going to mention is paint. These are going to end up an RAL 9003, which is a white color. I see some containers in that color every now and then, but I really like it. So during the summer heat, which is more taxing on the electrical system, we'll be white. So we're not going to soak up a lot of heat like your darker color containers do. But for now, we're going to stick with the ivory and just touch up the paint and get this in use for us. And then we're going to paint it white later. And the other thing we're going to do later is that deck. And I did another video on these, but we have the shipping container clamps up here. So I'll run up there and show that to you real quick. So this entire deck is removable. You flip that, unlocks that shipping container clamp, and these are what they use on the ships. and then this entire deck comes off. And that's cool for a couple different reasons, because you can remove the deck and not be overhyped for shipping. Your only other way to ship a container with a deck on top is to have folding handrails, because at 9.5 feet tall, once you hit about 11 feet, you're going to be overheight on virtually all trailers. Now this is going to be a wide load anyway because of the stairs, but we don't want to be overheight too. So these removable decks are something else we're going to be building all the time. And we have another really cool idea coming down the pike, which is using the bottom of another container that we cut up for the actual deck and an awning. So if you cut a container horizontally, you've got a deck and an awning both. So we will be wrapped up with this container next week. Most of the work is done on it at this point. If you guys got questions or comments, drop those. And thanks for watching.